of Fantasy is just hitting its 1-year anniversary. How is the game holding up? How has it improved since launch? And what pain points are there? Let's take a look at game basics, core progression system, and content cycle. By the end of this video, you should have a pretty good idea of the state of the game. Tower of Fantasy classifies itself as both a gacha game and MMO, though it's mostly the former. The core progression system in the game can be broken into two categories: your character level and your gear. Leveling is mostly tied to main story, dailies, and spending vitality, the latter two being time-gated. You can brute force XP very slowly by grinding mobs, but it's not really recommended. Gear is mainly obtained through joint operations, which are 4-player dungeons that require vitality in order to obtain loot. Each piece of gear comes with random substats, which are upgraded randomly as you enhance them with fodder. As things stand currently, there is next to no point to build any stats other than pure attack, as damage and healing scale directly from your attack stat, so it's a matter of going through piles and piles of gear until you hit those attack and crit rolls. Since launch, they've increased the drop rate of gear by over 3 times, and allowed you to pick an element to weight rolls towards, helping newer players get good gear faster. You can also level up and augment gear from materials obtained weekly, increasing their stats. These levels can be freely transferred across pieces of gear, and can be seen as a constant source of stat progression. However, at this point of time, Day 1 veterans haven't even maxed out their gear level yet. So this means that newer players won't be able to catch up in terms of stats for quite some time. In addition to gear, there are also matrices, which are essentially pieces of equipment that can be slotted onto weapons, providing set bonuses. The most powerful ones are obtainable from gacha, but there are plenty of viable sets that are obtainable from general content, though these sources are time-gated. To put things into perspective, 20% of your total attack comes from time-gated gear enhancements, 10 to 20% comes from each of your weapons and matrices, and the rest comes from substats on your gear. Note that while weapon and matrix advancements do not make the biggest difference in raw stats, advancing them increases damage in many different ways, but we'll touch on that more in the part 2 video. Next, let's talk about the game's content and endgame loop, starting with non-repeatable content. World exploration is the core rewarding content, and gives a plethora of resources depending on the region. There are currently 3 major regions: Asperia, Vera, and Domain 9, referred to as 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 regions respectively, based on the major patch they were added in, and each of them offer different exploration rewards. Asperia offers a lot of direct premium currency and gachapons. Vera offers currency for special gachapons, containing a lot of materials, but not rewarding premium currency and gachapons until you reach the end of the gachapon. And Domain 9 offers a special currency that, when spent to upgrade various statues around the map, rewards gachapons and other goodies alongside benefits within the zone. Because exploration points are shown on the map, it can be fairly relaxing to run around and complete the various puzzles and objectives, as you don't have to rely on a third-party site to check the location of everything. However, there is not much uniqueness in the exploration points, as you'll find the same 5 or so objectives across a zone. This holds true for the later zones as well, but the newer zones are much more polished, and sometimes exploration is its own reward. Some overworld objectives also require you to kill enemies on a timer. However, with the recently added world level system, most players can keep their world at a low level until they are comfortable advancing it higher, making most mobs and even world bosses trivial difficulty to solo. Higher world level only gives access to looting certain world boss chests, but because the keys to obtain loot from said chests are time-gated, you aren't really missing out on anything by keeping your world level low. Aside from exploration, the other main non-repeatable content is Bygone Phantasm, a dungeon with hundreds of levels that gets progressively more difficult as you go along, and the goal is to kill all the enemies within the time limit. This content features a leaderboard as well, giving out gear enhancement materials and a pinch of premium currency every week to players based on their ranking. By difficulty, by the way, I mean like higher levels just crank numbers up. Because of how stat checky this content is, the rankings here really aren't something to worry about for newer players and non-whales. However, there is still value in doing this content for one-time rewards on clearing the floors, and of course, it's a good way to see how strong you are and how far you've progressed. What about the endgame loop? There are several daily, weekly, and monthly activities to keep players busy. Daily, you have bounty missions that reward materials, gacha pulls, and a large amount of EXP, and can be completed in a matter of minutes. Your energy, known as vitality, takes 48 hours to max out, so using it is flexible, and you don't need to spend it every day. Joint operations can be completed for gear, or if you need materials, there are easy missions on the side. So easy in fact that you can completely just skip them and claim the rewards instantly. So if you're tight on time, you can burn your vitality in seconds. In terms of weekly content, there's Frontier Clash, Void Rift, and Raids. Frontier Clash is a 4-player instance where you battle against 5 bosses on a timer, and Void Rift is a 4-player instance where you kill mobs around the map to obtain buffs before facing a boss. Raids are 8-player content that consist of a single boss fight, and come in 2 difficulties, Heroic and Challenge, the latter being much more difficult and offering just the smallest pinch more reward. Heroic raids, at this point, have fairly trivial difficulty that can be easily solo carried by any veteran player. How trivial? Well, let's take a look. Finally, we have our monthly content: Void Abyss, Sequential Phantasm, and Origin of War. Void Abyss is a 6-stage version of Void Rift, where, in addition to buffs you obtain in the stage, you can also configure up to 8 buffs before entering, allowing you to focus on either DPS, tank, or healer. This content is fairly challenging, but also much more accessible than others, as the buffs give a large amount of flat attack and even advancements on your weapons, lessening the gap between newer players and whales. Sequential Phantasm is a side mode to Bygone Phantasm and offers 4 different stages that each force you to use a certain element. The scores here are added to your Bygone score for your total ranking, but again, this content is very difficult for newer players, as it is unreasonable to focus on building multiple element teams early on. Origin of War is essentially a 4-player Bygone Phantasm that features buffs that you can farm on certain stages, with 25 stages in total. The seasons last 2 months, and the later stages start out with an extra stat multiplier, going as high as 2500%, gradually deflating to base stats over time. There are very minor bonus rewards for clearing at 300 and 600% difficulty, but like with a lot of other stat-inflated content, this is largely whale territory. Clearing a higher stage also grants the rewards of all the previous stages, so you could technically do nothing for 2 months and then have a friend taxi you to a stage 25 run at the end of a cycle. On the side, there are other little activities such as fishing, racing, card games, and more. But to be honest, a lot of these activities aren't too fleshed out, but they can be fun things to play with friends to mix things up a bit every now and then. This pretty much sums up the content in Tower of Fantasy 1 year later. The world design has come a long way since the start, and there have been constant quality of life gameplay updates that make TOF fairly respectful of your time. However, there is still some unpolished points around, especially with the UI, which can also make it very frustrating to navigate sometimes. While a lot of power is time-gated, you do not need to match the damage of Day 1 players and whales in order to be able to enjoy the game, as most of the day-to-day content has fairly trivial difficulty. In the part 2 video, I'll be talking about the gacha system and address the also familiar problem known as power creep. If you have any questions about the game, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll try my best to answer every single one. I'll see you guys next time!